I recently uploaded a YouTube short where I said that the Dead Space Remake's box art was boring, and boy howdy did it get a lot more response than I thought it would. An overwhelming amount of the comments were asking, WTF was I even talking about? The box art looks fine. And to be fair, I didn't really say why I thought it was boring in a 9-second video. But in order for us to really understand kind of where I'm at with box art and how I think it's kind of boring these days, we gotta go hop back in time in our little time machine to lay the groundwork. You see, back in the early days of gaming, developers had to make their games stand out on the shelf because, let's be honest, this looked better than this. And I guess in a way it made games look and sound cooler than what they probably were, unless you're looking at the Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 box art, which made you wonder, like, am I about to get spooked? Am I about to get beaten up? Am I about to have terrible nightmares? This looks horrifying. But you get the idea. Early game box art tried to tell you, hey, this game is really cool. You have to use your imagination a little bit because the technology is limited. We get it. But as time went on and games got more advanced, you started using more polygons and sprites and things like that, the box art started to resemble what you're actually playing. And as a kid, and I'm dating myself here a little bit, but when I used to go to the video store to rent a game out for the weekend, I would stand there in front of all the games in the Sega Genesis area. Yes, I was that kid. I was a Genesis kid. And I would look at the box art and be like, what am I going to play this weekend? Like, holy crap, is that a worm in a spacesuit with a gun? That's so cool. Is that Carnage looking over a town he's about to, do I get to play as Carnage? You don't get to play as Carnage. You play as Spider-Man or Venom. But either way, Maximum Carnage had a really captivating box art that made me go, I want to play this. And so I always stood there for several minutes when my mom or dad would go check out a movie. I was like, what am I gonna play this weekend? Am I gonna play Earthworm Jim? Am I gonna play Maximum Carnage? Or am I just gonna rent Street Fighter 2 for the billionth time? And box art during that time was pretty cool. It was pretty captivating. But as the years went by and games started getting more advanced with polygons and all that jazz, we started seeing more CG characters put on the front of the boxes, which isn't necessarily bad because now we get to see what the games actually look like versus a more artistic rendition. But in some cases, yeah, some things you just can't unsee. And this kind of kept going into the PS3, Xbox 360 era. And there was even this really weird time where it seemed like every single game was getting a Game of the Year edition from like Bose Gaming Emporium. That it's like, okay, I guess this game got a Game of the Year award somewhere, so let's give it a Game of the Year box edition. And that's where we all got the Batman Arkham City Game of the Year edition, or like Game of the Year edition for 10 out of 10 numbers and letters. And of course, with this being the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, we started getting more and more digital storefronts. They're becoming more commonplace. And we started seeing more box art that began to all follow this same formula. You take the main character, you slap them on the front with a weapon, have them look at the camera or slightly off the camera, and then put the logo on there, and bada bing, bada boom, we got the box art. It's done. Put it out there. And so this isn't really to say that this kind of box art is necessarily bad. It's just repetitive. It's all the same. And really, when you look at it, we've gone from this to this, from this to this. So when I say the cover art for Dead Space's remake is boring, that's what I mean. It isn't exactly memorable like the original box art was, with the floating severed hand in space making you wonder, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to sleep tonight. And so this box art is just, it's just there. Like, it's fine. It serves its purpose. I'm probably not going to remember this box art. And one of the comments I got on that other video was that I should make another one or contribute or try to make some sort of improvement. And while admittedly it's been an insanely long time since I've drawn anything or sketched anything, I thought about how the game's core mechanic is all about dismemberment. When you watch the trailer for Dead Space, that's why you see it written in blood on the wall, cut off their limbs. Morbid and gross, I know, but that's part of the gameplay. And so it got me thinking, why not have box art where it's Isaac's helmet made out of necromorph limbs and monster parts and stuff? No, it's probably stupid, but it's what I came up with, and I was like, this would be dope. I would proudly display this on my shelf with all my other games. And that's the thing about good box art. It sticks with you. It draws you in and makes you ask, what is this game about? What is going on? And Doom 2016 is actually a pretty good example of this, because when you look at the original box art, you're like, yeah, cool, Doom guy. All right, I'm there. But when you look at the alternative box art that they've been putting on just about every version of Doom 2016 since then, yeah, let's do this. Like you really get into it. It makes you want to play the game because of how dope the box art looks. But that video also begged the question, does box art really even matter anymore? In a world where roughly 80 to 90% of games are bought digitally now, what's the point? Now, me personally, I think box art still has a role to play in drawing people in to play your game. For example, I was recently browsing the PlayStation Store and saw this game called Moonscar. And to be honest, I was like, okay, it's a typical dude looking at the camera, whatever. I didn't really interest me, right? And so I moved along. But then when I stumbled upon the trailer here recently, I was like, oh, this game looks cool. What is this game called? Moonscar. The game that I passed in the PlayStation Store and didn't pay it any mind because the cover art wasn't all that interesting. And so had the cover art for that game been a little more interesting, a little more captivating, I probably would have taken the time to look at it and maybe even buy it and download it. And really, when you think about things like YouTube, movies, books, whatever, cover art has a lot to do with whether or not you actually click on that video or you watch the movie or you pick up that book and read it. Now, I'm by no means an expert at this sort of stuff, especially these YouTube thumbnails. But to say that cover art doesn't matter anymore, I think is a bit nonsensical when it matters a lot. It helps determine if you're going to click on a video or read a book or watch a movie or play a game. I think it has more of an impact than maybe what some of us might think. Now, don't get me wrong, Dead Space is one of my favorite horror games of all time, and I will definitely be there day one to play the remake. And I'll still be there playing God of War Ragnarok, despite the fact that the box art is just like, oh, here's Kratos and here's Atreus. Oh, let's look off to the sunset. Oh. But bad cover art isn't exactly a deal breaker for me. It's not going to keep me from playing a game. I mean, after all, I played Tough Enough, which are you tough enough, brother? And I'll admit that I probably just care too much about box art, but I am kind of toying around with the idea of ranking different video game box art in a future video. So if you would be interested in that or might think it would be kind of fun, then let me know in the comments. But at the same time, I'm curious to know, what do you think about video game box art? Does it matter to you? Do you care at all? Do you even look for it anymore? But hey, if you like this video, why not consider giving that like button a little tickle and hugging the subscribe button? Thank you in advance if you did do that. And maybe check out some of our other content that we got here on the channel, like our Christian gaming podcast that doesn't suck, or at least according to people on the internet, that's what they tell us. Or check out the other gaming content we've got here on the channel, like my memory card videos where I play retro games, or I guess more retro style games on the channel, and talk about what it was like playing those for the very first time. But thank you for watching this video, thank you for liking the video, and thank you for subscribing. And until next time, be a dear, keep it locked here. I'll see you in the next video.